Republicans are going to turn on Donald Trump. I believe before the midterm elections, you're going to see Republicans remove Donald Trump from office to be replaced with JD Vance.
Hi guys, welcome back again to another video. Thank you so much for clicking as always. If this is your first time here, my name is Julie. You are welcome to Julie Harrison Reacts. Don't make it your last by subscribing. Donald Trump panics as the Republicans are publicly turning on Trump. This has gotten a lot of people reacting. It is literally his nightmares because people felt like he has failed politically. I'm gonna let you guys listen to the videos that is blowing up right now on TikTok, especially how Black Americans we are seeing reacting, and I would like you to tell me what you genuinely think about this in the comment section. But before then, disclaimer: this content does not in any way promote conflict. This is really for educational purposes and of course creating awareness on the recent trends happening on social media. Please watch these videos and let me know what you think about it in the comments.
Mark my fucking words, I say this today and I say this now. Whatever truth is about to be revealed regarding Donald Trump, including Donald Trump, surrounding Donald Trump, is way more sinister than anything that we could have ever imagined, than anything that we could have ever mustered. Because the way that the Republican Party is going out of their way to make this grand spectacle, this grand public spectacle of trying to distance themselves from Donald Trump, oh baby, it's going down. And they're throwing that man under the bus. The results of Tuesday night's election shook up the Republican Party way more than they want to admit. Way more than they want to admit, to the point where the warnings don't even fucking matter anymore. They're literally going against Donald Trump. They're literally preparing to rebel against Donald Trump. But let's do a little backtracking real quick so you can understand exactly where I'm going with this, okay? Boom. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson starts the paper trail, right? So the Trump administration wanted it to make it legal to not give 42 million Americans their SNAP benefits. So they send it to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court rules in favor of it. Ketanji Jackson is like, fuck that. Sends it to the fucking lower courts. Lower courts that are filled with appointed judges from the Biden and Obama administration. Keep that in mind. So now the judges from the lower courts are like, fuck that, we're not doing that. They actually ordered the Trump administration to give everybody their full SNAP benefits. So now the Trump administration is like, fuck, these motherfuckers is making it harder for us. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson also makes it known that the contingency fund, the $5 billion in that contingency fund is gone. It's gone. Where is it? Due to the executive branch, it's gone. Thus setting up the paper trail. Sets up the paper trail, all this back and forth. And in the paper trail is information regarding that the contingency fund and the money in it is gone. Keep that in mind. So now, boom, Tuesday night elections run around. The results, unanimous, every single election. Democrat, blue, blue, blue. The Republicans are feeling it. They fucking feeling it. We heard the fucking warnings. We saw. You understand it? Like, listen, we got to get a hold over this shit. Because if we let them get it, if we let them have these midterms, we're fucked. We're going to jail. Mike Johnson even gave a fucking warning. He said, we cannot let the Democrats take this. If they take it, they are going to end the Trump administration. They're going to end it. They're not going to let that man run his full term. You damn Skippy. Now, if y'all didn't already know, I'm putting you on. There's a Project 2025 tracker that literally shows you the progress of this fucking movement, of this fucking demise to America. You understand? And right now it's at 48%, which means the Republicans were working hard. So far, it's been stagnant. But it'll make sense why it's stagnant once I give you all this information. Okay, boom. Despite Project 2025 being almost at 50% completion, even though these Republicans issued out their little warnings, they've already picked their side. They've already decided they're throwing Donald Trump under the bus. Because after Tuesday night's election results, did you guys know that the Senate voted and passed to strip Donald Trump of his power on imposing tariffs? The vote was 51 yay and 47 nay. This week it's revealed to us that Speaker Mike Johnson is actually the person that's going to be leading the vote with 100+ Republicans, seniors too, enforcing the DOJ in releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files after a portion of the emails have been, you understand, made public and they seen that Donald Trump's names is in that shit. Earlier this week, right, Donald Trump makes an appearance at the NFL games, the Washington Commanders. He's not even able to give his speech. He is booed the entire time. The entire stadium is booing him. And here's the ironic thing about it. The Washington Commanders used to be known as the Redskins. It was a stadium filled with Redskins booing Donald Trump, their Republican president. And this is what I mean by there is a outpouring display of all the Republicans literally turning their backs on Donald Trump right now, which means whatever truth that is about to be revealed surrounding that man is absolutely sinister. And don't you think for a second that any of these other fucking Republicans that were working under him are innocent. Some of you Democrats too. And because I wanted to give you guys a little treat, I'm going to insert the clip right here, a little part of them literally booing this man. Here you go.
I am saying your name.
Republicans are going to turn on Donald Trump. I believe before the midterm elections, you're going to see Republicans remove Donald Trump from office to be replaced with JD Vance. You see, they've gotten now everything they could get from Donald Trump, and he is no longer politically convenient. In fact, he's much worse. He's like having two concrete bricks on your feet and being thrown into the ocean for a swim. If Republicans in Congress want to keep their seats, they are going to have to completely turn their backs on Donald Trump. That is how bad it's going to get for them in the coming months. That's why you're hearing reports that in the House of Representatives, as many as 100 members may vote to release the Epstein files. Because secretly, these Republicans are hoping, fingers crossed, that the stuff in these files is so damning that they have no choice and that they have the cover to impeach and remove Donald Trump. Because if they don't, the midterms are going to be a bloodbath. No amount of redistricting is going to save many of their jobs. That's why I believe that before the midterms, they're going to say goodbye to Donald Trump. And that's what it is. Throw me a follow. I'll keep you updated.
We're now getting word that Donald Trump has summoned Lauren Boebert because he apparently is trying to block the release of the Epstein files. Then there's ridiculous nonsense provisions in the bill to open the government that Trump signed yesterday. Fucking embarrassing. So what this all looks like is A, you don't give a f about anybody except billionaires. That's all you give a shit about. The average American basically means nothing to you. That's what that tells me. So I have to say, my disappointment with Donald Trump has turned almost parabolic recently. As much as I like a lot of Trump's plans, the trolling, the memes, and the badass videos are not enough to stay off the fact that, well, we're kind of getting f***ed as an American population here. So we can make fun of liberals all day, but that's not restoring America, and that's not bringing upward mobility to the population. Release the goddamn Epstein files!
Guys, it's happening. Trump supporters are finally starting to turn on Donald Trump. And the reason for that is it turns out you can't just march out in front of the cameras and tell the American people that higher prices are fake news and Jeffrey Epstein is a hoax made up by Democrats. Now, there might be a few blind loyalists that can get behind that, but to everybody else, that is objectively ridiculous. And after Trump's interview on Fox News with Laura Ingraham, where he talked about 50-year mortgages and how we need to bring in immigrants from other countries to work here because we don't have the talent here in America, Trump's supporters are finally realizing that he is not America first. He is billionaire first. Now, I'm not sure if these people are ready to jump ship just yet, but I am seeing disillusioned Trump supporters all over TikTok at this point, and I've been screen recording all of them. So let me know if you want to see more where this came from. All right? Okay. Love you guys. Talk soon.
Donald Trump's nightmare scenario is here as both Republicans in Congress and the right-wing media have turned on him on the same day. Now, this all started this morning when House Democrats released more emails from Epstein that showed Donald Trump knew more than he was letting on. And Trump tried to get ahead of that by bringing in Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert to the White House to try to get them to change their vote on releasing the files. But both of them told Donald Trump to pound sand, something that was unthinkable just a month ago. Then to make matters worse, the right-wing media ran the stories on the email, even going so far as showing some of the more incriminating emails to their audience. And Donald Trump is not happy, and he is letting everybody know it. He is rage posting on Truth Social right now, doing the usual "it's a hoax, it's a scam," and threatening any Republican that sides with the Democrats on this matter. Make no mistake, Donald Trump is losing his grip on the people that he was controlling like puppets, and it's time to get the power.
And you picked the Republican Party because you realized that that party had the highest concentration of morons. So you ran as a Republican and you thought, how can I get Republican support? Well, who was the most effective Republican in the last half century? Well, that would have been Ronald Reagan. Well, what did Ronald Reagan do when he was first running for president? Well, let's take a look at his campaign stuff. Oh, I like that slogan, "Let's make America great again." Well, let's just chop off the "let's" and let's go with "Make America Great Again." And we can slap that on hats. You know, it's MAGA, MAGA. Yeah, let's do that. So that's where you got it from, Donald. This was not your idea. You're too stupid to come up with any idea on your own. Okay, let me read a little bit more of this article before we get to his lunatic ravings on social media. "I think the MAGA base is splitting," said Peter Loge, a professor of media and public affairs at George Washington University. "Donald Trump will never lose his core support, but what it means to be MAGA or a true Republican is now suddenly being debated." Yeah, this is all part of the Republican Civil War, the MAGA Civil War that has already begun and which will continue and intensify the further along we get into the Trump administration. With the less time he has, the more it becomes obvious that he's going to be gone pretty soon, the more this Civil War is among the MAGAs is going to intensify. And part of the problem is they don't believe in anything. I mean, again, other than their shared hatred for certain groups of people, other than that, there's no set of principles, no policy objectives that they have. It's just Donald Trump. That's it. That's the nature of a personality cult. Well, once you lose the cult leader, the personality cult collapses, and it's not going to just transfer to someone else. It's not going to just automatically go to JD Vance or Marco Rubio or anyone else. No one else can control this cult. It did not exist before Donald Trump. It was created around Donald Trump. It's not going to anyone else. So once Trump leaves the scene, this cult is going to disintegrate and start warring with each other as these different factions of lunatics fight for supremacy and to pick up a majority share of, the destroyed cult. That's the phase of MAGA that we are beginning to enter now. Okay, a little bit more here. Todd Belt, a professor of political management at George Washington University, said evidence for fracturing in the president's base included the town hall meetings at which GOP lawmakers have been confronted over their support for the president. Further evidence were the lawmakers and media figures, the MAGA elite, who appear increasingly comfortable breaking with Trump on key issues. Belt noted and by the way, look at how many of them are apparently going to vote to release the Epstein files in the House. More and more people are not afraid to stand up to this guy. They're going to get to a point. I did a video about this the other day. I'll link it below. I think I titled it, "It's Just a Matter of Time." It's just a matter of time before they wake up, at least the elected Republicans. It's only a matter of time before they wake up and realize we can't continue defending this guy. He's horribly unpopular. He's not going to be our candidate going forward. We're going to need to stand on our own and win elections without this piece of shit. And believe me, most Republicans in Congress hate this guy. Even the ones who kiss his ass the most actually hate him. They can't wait till he's gone. But it's only a matter of time until they realize and admit to themselves and start acting on the fact that continued defense and support of this guy is going to be electoral disaster for them as a party going forward. And they're already starting to figure that out, especially after the elections last week where they got their asses kicked. Looking at these poll numbers, they see where this is headed. They know how unpopular he is. They know it's only going to get worse. And they have to start distancing themselves from Trump. And some of them already have. And that is going to beget other people finding the courage to stand up against him. If they all do it, that's the thing. If they had all just stood up against this person, this corrupt criminal piece of shit at any point in the past, they could have survived it. The problem is, it's whack-a-mole. Just one of them pops their head up and then Trump destroys them. If they all do it at the same time, he can't go to war against the whole friggin' party. It's going to rip MAGA apart. And they could have just ripped the Band-Aid off, like in the second impeachment. That was the perfect time to do it. Convict him in the Senate, be rid of him. Yeah, the base would be pissed for a little while, but where else are they going to go? They ain't going to go voting for the Democrats. They'd come back to Republicans, and they would move on from Trump. Trump would have been long ago in the rear view mirror if they had just done that. But they didn't, because they're a bunch of cowards. And now I'm not saying they have any courage now, but they are being forced, or they will be, by the political reality and the quest for self-preservation for themselves. If they're going to stay in office, if they're going to win elections going forward, they're going to have to break with this guy. And it's starting to happen. Anyway, I think MAGA, in terms of the movement, is willing to forgive Donald Trump on a lot of things because they consider him to be the businessman, and he knows what he's doing when he's going back and forth with his tariffs and disruptive sort of behavior. Now, the only people who would think that he knows what he's doing when it comes to tariffs are people who are too stupid to know what tariffs are. And of course, you know, that is the MAGA cult. They are too stupid. Because anyone with half a brain knows that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's not a good businessman. He went bankrupt 6 times. No one would ever even have known this piece of shit's name if Daddy hadn't given him literally hundreds of millions of dollars and bailed him out after all of his failures. Anyway, but this is the one, back and forth, disruptive sort of behavior.
None of this is really about Donald Trump. I just watched Scott Jennings, like his podcast. He was posting clips about it. And he was talking about how there's a lot of infighting within the Democratic Party since the government reopened, and that whole debacle. But more importantly, he played a clip of Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders said something to the effect of this. And he said, the American people want us to fight. The American people want us to fight against Trumpism. And I don't know, maybe I need to make a podcast called like Common Sense Podcast if no one has already like done that. But the first thing I thought, the first thing I said was, this is rich. This is very interesting that he says the American people, because the American people overwhelmingly duly elected Donald Trump to be commander-in-chief, to head the executive branch, and to be president of the United States. He won the popular vote. He won every single swing state. The House, the Senate. I mean, the majority of Americans wanted this. The majority of Americans voted for the policies that Donald Trump is enacting. And so my thing is to keep saying you want to fight against Trump and you want to fight harder against what he's doing. What you're saying is you want to ignore the democratic process. You want to ignore what the American people wanted, and what you want is more important. See, if you really care about the democratic process, you would take your L and say, you know what? We need to go back to the drawing board, re-strategize, change our messaging, maybe change our policies first and foremost, maybe like make some changes to who's spearheading our party and who's out there in the forefront. There's a lot of things that I thought they were going to do with how badly they lost the election. And in essence, they're just doubling down. And now they've resorted to this like intense gaslighting, where it seems like, if I really process the propaganda, it seems that they want to deliver a message to their base that suggests they are the majority, when in fact they are not. They are not. The silent majority showed up, and they were loud as ever in this last election. How do you look at the election results and deduce that the American people want you to fight against Donald Trump's agenda? That is like peak gaslighting. The Democratic Party has lost almost 3 million voters this year alone. And those individuals did not just drop their Democratic voter registration and become independent, or just didn't put anything at all. They actually re-registered as Republicans. So Republicans picked up those same voters en masse. And so why is this being ignored largely by the Democratic Party? If you really say you're a public servant, because guess what? Your job is to represent all Americans, not just people of the Democratic Party, not just your constituents, okay? You swore an oath. Your job is to protect the Constitution and the American citizen. This is supposed to be a bipartisan government. But what a lot of the Democrats are saying is that essentially, if you're not a Democrat, they are going to fight against what you voted for. They're going to subvert and ignore the democratic process, all the while saying that this is what the American people wanted. It's peak gaslighting.
way more than they want to.
This isn't any disrespect to any other creator that's had a take on this, but to be honest with you, the Republican Party is just using Trump to rally and strengthen and reinvigorize their base as much as they can before they throw him away. The Republican Party realizes that Trump is not someone who loves God and country. Trump is someone who loves himself and whores. We needed the base of white nationalists to be reinvigorated and restored to fight and to vote on against their best interest as long as they felt like they were, sticking it to minorities. Trump was never the long-term plan for the Republican Party. And even though he tried to treat himself like he was by, building that bunker and, all of these other things and trying to make sure that he can never leave the White House, you're going to see like pretty much every Republican who plans on staying around to rally about how much they hate Trump or how bad he is and this, that, and the third. And we can tell this simply by in the manner in which he came in. Everybody was talking trash about him. Everybody thought Trump was a horrible candidate until they realized, whoa, this guy gets votes. It's the same as tolerating that annoying friend simply because he knows all the good club spots and he gets everybody in for free. You're solely with him for what he can do for you. He's making plans for people like him to stash money and set up their riches and stay rich for generations more to come. Not only that, he has to share the wealth with his friends and use the White House and his presidency to pay his private debts. Oh, and launder money. As well as we have to acknowledge the fact that my man is running for president simply because he's ducking Fed time. But I don't know, man. That's just my 2 cents, man. Y'all tell me what y'all think.
Did you guys listen to Trump's gaggle with the press a couple hours ago on Air Force One? Lauren Boebert was summoned into the Situation Room, and I'm not sure if Nancy Mace was too, but this reporter asked, why did you go and talk to Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace about the files? His answer was, because I don't want them talking about it any longer, because that's taking away from how wonderful we are doing.
A fear I have is as we slowly learn about Donald Trump's proclivity to underage girls, I think like a big part of his dedicated fan base, I would say maybe like 40%, they're going to start making well, it's not pedophilia, it's a phebophilia argument. Like I'm sure many of you have already started hearing arguments like that from other internet weirdos. Sneeko made this argument once being like, oh, you're gonna get mad at someone sleeping with a 17-year-old girl? Like, what if your bro sleeps with a girl who's like 17, 11 months, and 59 seconds until she turns 18? Like, you're gonna get mad at? Like, the right, especially like a lot on the far right, they've always talked about like normalizing pedophilia in the sense of, children who are, going through puberty at least. But like, what I'm scared of is it becoming mainstream, right? Like, one of two things is going to happen if it's confirmed Donald Trump is a PDF. One, the entire country is going to turn on him and he's going to have to leave office and flee. Two, there's going to be a little too many people defending what he did because they're like, ugh, like she's 15, like who cares? And I'm starting to get scared that the latter is already happening. Megyn Kelly is already starting to make that argument.
In as much as I don't know deep into American politics, but I can tell you guys for free that Donald Trump isn't getting it right. To be very honest, Orange Man has a lot of flaws, a lot of lapses in his regime, or should I say in his political career, and people felt like he needs to do better. I remember vividly on the day that they had No Kings protest, on how this man made an AI video which he posted on Twitter where he was publicly pooing on protesters. Right? These are people that voted for you. These are people that made you who you are today. These are people that contributed their power, their votes to make you to become the president. And what do you give them in return? Pooing on these protesters. Like, it was his caricature for me all the time. I just don't know why this man feels like the world revolves around him. Like, he can do shit and get away with it. Politically, I cannot think he failed because people are reacting and they felt like Democrats should take the lead. They felt like Republicans failed them They felt like there's a lot of lapses. And this took me back to the time they had elections with Abigail and how she smashed, despite the fact that she was actually palm colored, but blacks voted for her. This to show you how depressed and how degrading this regime entirely has put people into. Right, let's talk about the food stamp and what he did. I think this is all about the back and forth with him taking up the food stamps, and even when the court has demanded that he fix it back, yet he's still ignored. Nobody's above the law. That's what I would like to tell you people. Nobody is above the law, and if his regime would not favor Americans, there's no way they would want Republicans to be there. People are turning against him. Republicans are turning on him. They felt like, since you become the president, we have never benefited from any sort of thing. And their points are valid. Their actions are valid because it makes sense. On daily basis, we hear a lot of drama, a lot of things. Like, he does not even, I don't know, most times I ask myself, does this man even know that he's the #1 citizen of America? To be very honest, that video, in as much as I don't really indulge so much in the politics like I initially stated, but the videos on the no king protesters, because I did that, I reacted on the videos, it was entirely nothing to write to my, but people kept calling him that his actions were so delusional, so evil. You don't do that to people that you lead. If you must be a good leader, you should also be a good follower. You should put yourself in people's shoes and react. Just feel them. When Americans come out to protest and say things that they don't like, you should listen to them. When court has ordered you to probably bring back the food stamps and pay people in full, why are you still dragging it? Why are you dragging it? Because you are the president? Now, people that put you there are already turning against you because they felt like you failed them. You failed them politically. There's literally nothing to applaud you for or celebrate you for. So these are reactions coming from people, and they felt like it is too late for him to make amends. The comment sections of these videos are literally blowing up. People had so many things to say about the actions of the orange man in the comment section. And guess what? He doesn't even look like he cares. In as much as people felt like he's already panicking, there are lots of panics here and there. When your own is turning against you, you have absolutely nothing to back up your claim, but they make it make sense. I'm going to end here because I want you guys to tell me what you genuinely think about the reactions coming from people, and of course all the videos I was able to put together, people sharing their mindset, 2 cents on the Republicans turning on Donald Trump. And please let me know what you genuinely think about it in the comments. If this is your first time here, my name is Julie. You are welcome to Julie Harrison React. Don't make your last by subscribing, and I'm gonna see you all in my next video. Please make sure you drop your comments. I'll be reading, and we're gonna have a deep conversation down the comment section. Bye guys.